Hello, and welcome back to the What the Falk podcast in association with Viper Goalkeeper. Hello, and welcome back to the What the Falk podcast. Today's guest is another one that needs very little introduction. He's won the Premier League officially 5 times, the FA Cup twice, the League Cup twice, and a little competition called the Champions League twice as well. But welcome to the show, Wes Brown. How are you doing, Wes? Are you all right?
Yeah, good, thanks. Yeah, good day. So I've come in the garden today.
Nice and sunny. It's actually quite sunny here as well, but I'm hoping it's not going to rain over the next half an hour, because that would just kill the whole interview, wouldn't it? But
No, I think I'm all right. I'm not sure about you.
First things first, really, really important question. Do you think you are the hardest man in all of the town?
No, not at all. A great song, though. I still get embarrassed when people sing it, but it's nice to know that it still gets sung today. So yeah, good laugh. We have a good laugh about it in the changing room, but it's a nice gesture.
Good song. I remember it vividly on a semi-final day in Old Trafford with a whole tram worth of people in Manchester singing it, because we both knew all the words to it and we're quite happy to sing it. But before we delve into Sunderland, we've got a lot of other stuff to go through. United, of course. But we'll go back all the way to sort of your childhood. Born in Manchester, obviously. What are your earliest memories of growing up and either falling in love with football, or watching football, playing football? What's your earliest memories?
Yeah, always had the ball in my hand, even from the first videos we used to watch on the cassette. When we go on holidays, I'd always have a ball kicking it about with my nana, granddad and brothers. Obviously, at the beginning, I was very into karate, more of a leisure time. I missed out on my black belt twice. I was gutted. I was only about 10. And then, obviously, my mates started playing in teams, Sunday League teams, and basically got me in a Sunday League team. And it pretty much flew from there, really. But I liked all sorts of sports. I was into everything at school.
You joined Man United's academy when you were 12, is that right?
It was more 13, more 1993. And then signed School of Excellence at the time it was called, at 14. And then obviously 2 years after that, YTS.
Were you always a Red then, or were you secretly a City fan or a different club?
No, I mean, I lived closer to City. City was in, obviously, Main Road at the time at Moss Side, which is right next to where I live. But my first game I ever went to was a United game. My granddad was an Arsenal supporter. He was from London. He tried, but it didn't quite work. But yeah, I didn't. And obviously football was limited then to probably the Saturday grandstand game or something like that. There wasn't many on telly. So you basically watched anyone who was playing.
Because it would have been before Sky Sports.
That was before Sky Sports, yeah. Definitely before Sky Sports. I think there might have been a game ITV or BBC, I can't remember. But that would only be one game at the weekend and maybe just highlights as well.
So do you know, like, when you first go to a game and stuff like that, like, I remember my first heroes were probably the people that I first went to see, like, live and stuff. Who were the first players that you would have seen live, like, on the pitch, and which ones did you sort of connect with first then?
So my probably first player connected, I used to play right wing, so mine was Danny Wallace. And then obviously when I started going to the games, there was Giggs there. I mean, he was even playing then when I was about 14. Paul Ince, and by that time I've gone centre back, and I used to love Pally and Bruce, and obviously what they were achieving at the time was something obviously I wanted to obviously one day accomplish as well.
Crazy when you look at Steve Bruce and think he never actually won an England cap.
There's a few like that though, in different positions. There's a few, but yeah, Steve Bruce, fantastic, obviously captain for the club, and he left actually when I signed YTS, so obviously I'm going in every day now. He's already gone. Pally was there, he was brilliant as well. Nothing much got past Pally. already, as I'm a young lad, the team's phenomenal, in positions, all the players that are there, and I'm this young lad coming through. So I had to sort of step up my game in training a bit. And, the manager must have thought a lot about me because he did put me in some games.
Did you have any good advice when you were growing up as a junior or a youth team player from any of the coaches?
Yeah, people sometimes forget that, especially when you join at 16, you're still a kid, seeing the world or anything. You've just basically finished school and straight away some of the lads are thrown into the deep end and straight onto, and sometimes it's hard to understand or even be able to deal with it. But I was lucky in the sense that the class of 92 have come through. There's always been young players at United who were sort of in the first team squad. But Eric Harrison was probably the key for all of that. Kiddo as well. The way he, the mentality he put into you straight from an early age, what the club was about. If you sort of grow up in that environment, what's wanted from you, and only the best and the best you can give. What you don't realise at the time, the more you start to meet Sir Alex, he's implicating into all the first team players. And it's just a winning mentality that once it's digged into you at an early age, it doesn't really go.
Yeah. When do you first meet Sir Alex?
13, when I first sort of went to the club. We were still at the Cliff. We'd train once a week. I know it's a lot more now. The gaffer was always the first one there and one of the last to leave. And even though we were training after school, he would sometimes pop in. Obviously, he comes over, shakes your hand and speaks to you for a bit. Obviously, you don't say much as a kid. You're just probably looking up in awe. But obviously, your mum and dad are there. I think my brother and my sister was there as well. He's a legend in a sense, and I've always looked up to him. Obviously, when I was younger, you're probably a little bit more scared of him as well. But obviously, if you ever needed anything, you could just knock on that door and he'd be there. And the way he handles certain situations were fantastic.
Didn't he say you were the most naturally talented defender that he'd ever had at Manchester United?
Yeah, people ask me they bring that up all the time. And I always probably explain it as in, the gaffer always trusted in me. So, and what I mean by that is, he never actually told me how to defend. He just let me do it. He wouldn't necessarily say mark him. He just let me go and do it. He knew I was more than capable of doing it. And, that's a massive praise from him.
I think your debut was against Leeds. And if I'm right in thinking, it would have been Hasselbank that would have.
Unbelievable. That's probably I've always said it's in the top 3. Maybe it could be even 1 games. The feelings I had, I was getting put in every now and again, like with the starting lads, and I wasn't wondering what was going on. I didn't sleep the night before. Big Pally as well, I'm not sure if you know Pally, but he's a bit of a joker. He's a good lad. He said I was actually starting, and I don't think he was lying. But I didn't, because he told me that I didn't sleep the night before, not one wink, and I was just going with adrenaline. But I didn't start, and I actually come on. And then I had a really good game against Leeds. I couldn't have wished for a better game because you need a bit of luck. Do you know what I mean? Because anything could happen. And I always remember me and Jimmy, we had a race to the ball. I think we just played down the side and I got there before him, sort of turned out. So I was nervous. I can remember it like it was yesterday. I remember passing it back to Peter Schmeichel. And I always remember Jimmy saying to me, Wes, slow down. But he kept calling me Wes. And I was thinking, how does this guy even know who I am? But yeah, it was a fantastic day for me and my family. But from then on, I just knew this is what I want, and I'm loving it already.
It's surreal making your debut in what's effectively like a derby, because Leeds and Man United hate each other. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it was
best of friends.
Yeah, it was a big rivalry then. Obviously, it was a second to last game, and there was not much to play for. So the manager put me on in that game, maybe with someone else, I can't remember, but the last game of the season, he put a lot of youngsters on, and we played Barnsley and we did really well. And then that obviously brought that on for the next season, where he kept me, Matt, for instance, Mark Wilson, Jonathan Greening, little bits here and there to help that.
What was the lads that were coming through in your age?
Shays is a year younger than me, so yeah, I was sort of already in the first team by then. A little bit, because I was 18. But yeah, Shazy was brilliant. We hit it off straight away, and obviously it was good. The manager, he didn't throw us all in at once. He threw everyone in every now and again, just seeing if you could handle it. Hopefully he'd improve and learn stuff off the players that were there as well. So it was, in my year, there was probably Rick Wellens, David Healy, who you'll probably know, Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
Alex Notman.
I remember.
And he was a lad called Leon Mills, who's actually my best mate. He didn't actually carry on. There was only 5 or 6 of us that signed in my year. It wasn't a big squad to begin with, and which in a way helped us because we always played with the older lads because of it. So we were playing against bigger lads. Obviously, age-wise at that time, I'm still trying to fill out. I'm not a man yet, so it sort of worked out perfect for me.
You won I can't remember the name of it but it's basically Young Player of the Year. Yeah, I think you're the only person that won it twice. What was it? Giggsy's won it
Jimmy
twice.
Murphy Award.
Jimmy Murphy Award, that's the one.
Yeah, Jimmy Murphy Award. Yeah, me and Giggsy. Yeah, me and Giggsy. Yeah, I'm sure, that it could easily happen again. But at that age, I mean, I went to Lilleshall, which was a national school as well, at the age of 14. So when I signed for United, I actually went to boarding school for 2 years. And we had the likes of Michael Owen, Michael Ball, John Harley. And that basically got the mindset completely right, ready for football in general, because that was more like YTS at 14. You go to school, you come home, you do football, you train every day. It got you into the mentality right, and that helps a lot as well.
It was 97, 98. You're talking about sort of 98 and 99. I think much more games than you had done pre. I think it was 2 games that you said near the end. Season afterwards, you played quite a bit. And Stam, Ronnie Johnson, Gary Neville. Like, how much do you learn from those players at such a young age?
All the time. I mean, and you have to remember every player is different as well. But there was Henning Bird, Mazer, like you said, Ronnie Johnson, Gary Nev, Phil Nev, Dennis Irwin. Fantastic players. And when I look at it now, I'm thinking, how did I even get a game every now and again? But the manager was good at that. He was good at rotations, and he'd throw me in for some really big games as well. Barcelona, Bayern Munich. And he's just giving you a feel for it. He knows that, in the future, you're probably going to be playing more regular. But if he thinks you're ready, he won't be shy and throwing you in. And that's what I love about it. The team at the time, I think as I come in and played that season, Gary Pallister then went to Middlesbrough, so there's a couple of slots opening. But I think as a young lad, once I played a few games, the manager trusted in me. He had a lot of confidence, so I think it just went from there, really.
Talking about the games you played in and the games that give you the chance, and you mentioned a couple before, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, all those sort of games, and I'm looking at like the players that were in the side at that point. You're talking about like Bolo Zenden, I think, because you came in at right back originally, so Bolo would have been on the left. Rivaldo. Effenberg. I mean, you're coming up against players that are like household names and have won all sorts of stuff at like a teenager. Do you learn quite a lot from playing against players of that ilk immediately? Like just being thrown in?
Yeah, well, you do. And once you played with Rivaldo and he scores a hat trick, but it was good. I mean, I think when you're young, sometimes you don't really take everything in. So you just sort of playing. There's not much thinking. You're sort of just playing and focusing on playing, focusing and not getting anything wrong. I think as you get older, you've had lots of games now, and you're thinking about it more. But when I was young, I just got on with it. When you're playing against world class players as well, like I said, I mean, these guys are playing against the best defenders. Jaap Stam, Ronnie Johnson at the time, who were 2 powerhouses. I remember being just really skinny, but I was fast, but really skinny. And there was sometimes when you come up with it against an attacker who was big, strong, that was more of his game. He'd bring the ball down, hold it up. You'd struggle a bit. Do you know what I mean? So you'd learn pretty quick. And to be fair, I actually understood it quicker rather than later. Like I understood you can't fight everyone. The bigger lads who that's their game, they're waiting for that. These fast players that you play different, more technical players you play different. You can probably get a bit more physical. So yeah, I think the better you learn all that stuff, it helps. It definitely helps.
Who was over your whole career, obviously probably jumping in a bit too fast here, but who was the toughest opponent that you came up against through your whole career?
Yeah, there's some tough ones. I mean, John Hartson, when at the early doors of my career, he absolutely bullied me to bits. That was like my first season as well when he was at Coventry. Like I just said, I tried to sort of fight him, and that didn't work out too well. I would have to say, I always say Zidane, because he played left midfield at the time, so it wasn't necessarily left wing.
Not a bad player.
Yeah, he was like Scholes. You just can't mark him. Even if you tie someone else is running off him, he knows where he is. He makes space again. And Ronaldo, obviously, R9 on that Madrid side. Phenomenal.
Marking him as a centre-half when he played for Real.
I did, yeah, when he scored a hat-trick at Old Trafford.
I think people will let you off for that.
If you watch him score that 30-yarder, it's me who tries to stick a leg out. And there's absolutely no chance. But, that's probably the only time I've seen an opponent player get clapped when he came off and sub. And even I wanted to clap, but obviously we were like in a game. I'm thinking, wow, I don't know what he was like when he was younger, because believe me, he was a bit older then. And some of the lads say, he was probably a little bit overweight, and he was still doing that, So when you hear some lads talk about him, and when he was younger in his Barca days, they just say honestly, Wes, they've never seen anything like it. So he's got to be up there as well.
He's a scary, scary player, Ronaldo. I was lucky enough to see him when he was about 18, 19. I think it was my first ever England game, 1995, the Umbro Cup. I think he was 19. It was just after the World Cup 94. And oh my God, I mean, both Ronaldo's tremendous players, but seeing that kind of level of talent. And if people ever ask why I fell in love with football, I was lucky enough to see Ronaldo when I was 11. So explains a lot.
A lot of people say that though.
Obviously, going back a little bit to sort of your first season, it was a treble winning season, there's so much you could speak about with that. But I think probably the thing that sticks out when you talk about that treble winning season is, of course, the final, which you were on the bench for. I think you played a lot in the group stages, I think all the way up to the quarter final pretty much. And obviously you're not on the pitch at the time, but even I remember it as a neutral in a way. I wanted Man United to win it because they were the English team. I wanted them to win it, and you couldn't help but celebrate it. But what was it like being part of the squad that day when what happened?
Yeah, I mean, in the back of the mind, there's always a chance. Even though I knew I wasn't really going to come on, there's always a chance in the back of your mind that you could do. So I was nervous, and I'm not a nervous person, but I was so nervous. And obviously, there's me and Jonathan Greening on the bench, and we're just wondering what's going to happen. But obviously, when you go 1-0 down, it's more than likely the defender's not going to come on, And we didn't actually play that well in that game as well, which was frustrating because of the season we had, the teams we've actually played to get to that position. We're talking quality teams, Juventus, Inter Milan's, even to say, the Arsenal team we beat in the semi-final with that Giggsy goal. We win the league on the final day with a Coley chip. We sort of a little bit cruised past Newcastle. It wasn't as tough as I thought it would be. But then you get to this game and all of a sudden we're not playing well. And you're just sitting on the bench going, and then they score, they hit the post, I think they hit the crossbar as well. And you're just like, wow. But there's one thing that I've always learned, and that's no matter what, and it starts with the manager, we never give up. You would never see anyone give up. And once them two subs came on, and Teddy and Ollie, the crowd lifted itself, and I think everyone did with it, even on the bench, and you just knew something was going to happen. And obviously, once we got the corner and scored, I think that was it. I think everyone knew, without saying it, we were going to win. And we're probably going to win now as well on the next one. And, heartbreaking for Bayern Munich, who played really well in that game. And that's why I love football, for things that happen like that. A few minutes to go, we score 2 to win the European Cup. I mean, you probably wouldn't write it any better.
You're right in what you're saying. I remember the game really vividly. I can't remember how old it was, but I remember I think it was Carsten Janke hit the crossbar with an overhead kick or something like that.
He did, yeah. And the ball lands straight back into Schmeichel's hands. It was all sorts going on. But and on any other day, we could have been easily 2-0 down, but it wasn't meant to be. And the way we carried on, obviously we're missing Scholes and Keane as well. 2 big players for us. But the way the lads carry on, and the gaffer brings the subs on, and that lifts us again. I mean, that mentality is the one that's got us through many games in the past.
When you look at Keane, I was going to touch on that. Obviously, he was missing for the final, and Scholes as well. Both of them missed the final. Huge players, some of the best players that ever existed. But Roy Keane is a mentality as well. You miss that hugely, or I can imagine you do. But how pivotal was he throughout that run? Because I remember the Juventus game, he pretty much dragged you back into the tie event, effectively, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, to start off, Keane set the standards. The way he was on the pitch, you had to give 100%, and if he didn't, he'd tell you about it. But it wasn't that you had to. You wanted to. People like that, the way he wants to win, his mentality was frightening. I mean, he'd always stick up for the lads. But at the same time, I mean, we all know Keane can shout at someone, but he was one of the first to come and congratulate you as well. When you're walking off the pitch, and if you've had a good game, he'd tell you. He'd have no problem with doing both sides of it. And as a young lad growing up, that's exactly what you need. You need both sides of it, and he provided that. But obviously the game against Inter, phenomenal. Individually, performance, that's up there with one of the best with the circumstances and stuff, knowing that he's not going to play as well. He led by example.
When you've got someone like that in the dressing room, does that almost, Ferguson and him in the dressing room, that's your manager, that's your captain. Is that why do you think Man United scored so many late goals? Because you never knew when you were beat?
Yeah, that was definitely the mentality. You never give up. I mean, people used to say we've won so many leagues, but there were games where we weren't playing the best, but you just didn't give up. You knew something was going to happen. And you still watch football today. If someone's getting beat and he's 5 minutes left, they're probably going to get one more chance. Do you know what I mean? And that's the mentality. That's the mentality you've got to think and keep it going. We're going to get one more, maybe two, because that's just the way football goes, especially when someone's holding on to a lead. But every player had that, and I think that's how it worked. And that was driven from the manager as well, and the coaching staff. Keane, Gazzi, there was many players that it would be all passed down to.
Around that sort of time after you won the Champions League, it might have been just before, just after, I can't quite remember, but you got your first sort of England call-up, or at least your first England debut. I think Glenn Hoddle would have been, at that point. What are your memories of your first England camp?
Pretty nervous, to be fair. And obviously, some of these players have been playing for England for many years, and I was the youngest, probably one of the youngest at the time. There's obviously a few lads that I knew because of the team, but fantastic experience my whole career. It was funny. I mean, I've probably been in the England setup for 10 years, but I never really played. We had great defenders when I started to when I finished, and I would never. And I remember the day I went to see Capello to say, "Listen, for myself, I just don't want to be selected anymore." I mean, I went to one major competition, which was the World Cup. But other than that, I never really went. I didn't go to anything else. And it was nothing personal. It was just, my knees were starting to hurt a lot more. And and it sounds so weird, 4 or 5 days was perfect for it, because everything would just recover in time and get all the treatments. And England was tough. I mean, the training was so hard, the competition, you got all the lads from different teams, and everyone wants to impress, but you have a lot of experience from there. Obviously at the time, Shearer leading the way. And it's a shame we didn't actually win anything, because the players we had was definitely, when we look at them now on paper, we should have won something. And it's, pretty much a shame.
I'm going to say, I was looking to the 2002 World Cup squad that year. You went to Beckham, Scholes, Terry, Gerrard, Ferdinand, and that's just off the top of my head. Do you think on paper, paper alone, and paper doesn't win football games, but do you think that's the best England side that's probably ever existed, and that's why people are so like...
I don't know about ever existed, but at the same time, the talent's definitely there. But it's hard. I mean, England, you go to England every few months, the manager's got to get the formation perfect. And, we had so many midfielders, so many centre-halves, and you're trying to trick people in who are doing really well for the clubs. And obviously, people always talk about the Gerrard, Lampard and Scholes one. I mean, all fantastic players, do you know what I mean? And we just couldn't work out how to play everyone. And sometimes that is the downfall.
If you had to choose one of them between Scholes, Lampard and Gerrard, who would you choose?
I'd always choose Scholes. But they're all fantastic players. Gerrard was unbelievable. He was a joke. You could play Gerrard anywhere on the pitch.
Yeah.
Anywhere, and he'd probably up there with one of the best in that position. And that's honestly the truth. I mean, I grew up with Stevie. We're the same age, so we grew up from all the England, from the 15s onwards. So the way he coming to himself was fantastic.
By the time a certain Cristiano Ronaldo had joined, you were what you class as an experienced player. The names that we've just mentioned throughout the conversation already, sort of Keane, Beckham, Scholes, Gerrard, some of the greatest players of all time. But could you tell Ronaldo was going to be above them from the minute that you saw him at the club?
Yeah, he did. He did special things, even from early on. And obviously, you have to work on that. And when he came, he was a great lad. He still is a great lad. Funny as hell. He would always tell you he's going to be the best player in the world. And you're looking at him when he's playing, you can go, okay, I can see you're not yet. But okay, but we'll see about that. We don't know. But the focus he had to, mentally to say to himself, I'm going to be the best, and continue that. And watch him as the years went by, and he's getting better and better. Once he found out how to put the ball in the back of the net, I think he was unstoppable. I think he's one of them guys that his mentality, he doesn't just want to be the best in the Premier League, he wants to be the best ever. And that's what drives him on. He just pushed himself. And I always say that to the young kids, if you've got drive and you want to become a footballer, it's a big start to everything that's involved in the game, because it's not everyone who's, gifted with football that makes it. You have to have that other side to you. And his mentality side's up there with the best. What was
he like in the dressing room as a personality? You mentioned he was quite funny, and he seems like quite an affable guy, truth be told. And
he's funny, lad. Yeah, funny lad. He used to come in and say, he used to get his top off, you know what he's like, and give his little tenses and get his wings out and say, look very good, eh? But he was a funny lad, we fit in straight away. I mean, I'm sure he's done interviews where he said he loved everyone at United, because it is like a family club from wherever you start, from the security men coming in. But he definitely enjoyed his time. And it's funny, like, the best thing is about it, he's always said he wanted to play for Real Madrid. So him and the manager obviously had the conversation. We got another year out of him or two, can't remember, but what a phenomenal player to be able to do it at United, Real Madrid, and still now at, how old is he now?
35, unbelievably.
35. 35, yeah. And, he's still going. And he's got clever with it as well. He knows exactly what to do now, where's defenders' weaknesses. Don't use up all his energy. He just does the runs at the right time. But his finishing is still there. I mean, him and Messi, the stats they put up, if you're actually looking at them properly, yeah, it's stupid. You just like looking at it, it's not real. So you have to look at them and just put your hands up and go, fantastic job you've done.
When it comes to Ronaldo, obviously he turned it around, and I think people you can't help but respect him. But I remember one particular incident, I think it was Euro 2000, the winking moment when Rooney got sent off the whole wink. Yeah. Did anything after that, was it quite cold in the dressing room after that? Or was it a case of you're at United, you get on with it, you shake hands and you just respect that? What you got to do to win?
It was 2006, wasn't it? Yeah, 2006. I didn't go to that. But no, when we got back to training, it was fine. We're the sort of club that you can, no matter what happens, when you're all in the training ground, you can probably both look at each other and laugh it off straight away. That's honestly the truth.
Yeah.
And I know the press make a big thing out of it, but we're teammates. And on that day, they weren't teammates. It's football. That's how it goes. It is what it is. And people make a big deal out of it. And it didn't end up being a big deal at all.
Players that you've played against. 2008, you faced, I think, Barcelona. I think it was in the semi-final of the Champions League, a game I remember really well. Scholes, you scored. Obviously, you qualified, got to the final. But that day, you marked Lionel Messi. Now, you kept the clean sheet. But marking Lionel Messi, how do you go about marking Lionel Messi? What goes through your head? How do you think, right, this is how I'm going to approach it?
Well, first of all, I had a really good season that year. I think I nearly played every game. No injuries. My knees were good. So my confidence was very high. And obviously, we played against great players, but we also have great players in training as well.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking to myself, I'll be absolutely fine. Just don't dive in. And if you ever watch the game, I'm actually marking him. So sort of wherever he goes, I'm going regardless. And then someone else will fill in that centre-back because Vida wasn't fit at the time. And if you ever watch it, his first 2 times, I don't really go with him. I'm sort of, should I go in there? I don't know, because he's really deep.
Yeah.
and he turns and runs at us. And I was like, oh my God. But from then on, I did really well against him. But he's so tricky, mate. He glides with the ball. You know what I mean? And as a defender, there was actually times when I was running with him, and I was thinking, and it's all split seconds, because you're playing a game.
Yeah.
If he pushes it again, I'm going to tackle him. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But if I would have done, he would have nipped it again. I know he would have, because he was that good with the ball, running at pace with that sort of speed. So yeah, when he did have the ball, I just got tight, a little bit aggressive, and eventually, the aim was to make him pass it, and it worked pretty well. I know it sounds so stupid, but that was the aim, just to get him off the ball, because even though they had a fantastic team, he was the one, if he's running at you like that, he can cause problems, because he can drag 2 or 3 defenders to him. And then his assist as well, and up there with his scoring. So, we would have to be my concentration levels have to be very high anyway.
It kind of feels that if you leave Messi, even if you stay with him for 90 minutes, sometimes he can just sort of do you over. But like looking at the stats, I was like, bloody hell, Wes Brown's got a clean sheet against Messi. I've got to ask about that. So just don't dive in.
Yeah, right? It was a good. I mean, everyone played well. Well, I've watched the game back, okay, and he's still taking everyone on, still creating chances. And that day, it just felt like once Scholes scored, we knew we just had to be focused, and we've got this, because that was a fantastic team. And obviously, they went on to beat us, the couple of years on the bounce as well, which is a little bit frustrating, but that just shows how good they got as well.
Yeah, they became like the golden era, didn't they? And the go-to team like a couple of years afterwards. So absolutely zero shame in that. But as it was with that year, that was the second time you won the Champions League. But this time, obviously, you played in the final. And I was watching it back, and obviously you cross left-footed. Good ball in, to be fair. What are your memories of that day?
Yeah, it was a bit quieter than Barcelona, because it wasn't. We must have been a bit out of the way in the hotel. Obviously, coming to the game, it wasn't as crazy as in Barcelona, where you see fans everywhere, and the game kicked off so late as well. But actually, the assist was, we actually talked about it, because we knew Michael Essien was playing right back. Obviously, Essien's a fantastic player. Probably not a right back though, but he's a fantastic midfielder. But Ronnie's so good in the air. We just talked about if there's any time we get, because Ronnie will have a fair shot at obviously getting a chance. And I think the first one I've whipped in, little 1-2 with Scholes there. Ronnie's done a fantastic header. I mean, I always say, I'm just floating it in there to see if he can get on it. But, Ronnie's guided it in and got us off to a good start. And in that game, looking back, it still frustrates me that we didn't score another, because we was on top for about 30 minutes. And this big Chelsea team started getting in the game. And, Michael Ballack, Drogba, obviously John Terry, Ashley Cole, they're all getting in the team, Frank Lampard. And obviously then Frank gets one back. And honestly, it was head-to-head for the rest of the time. People challenging, crosses, everything. Everyone was on knives. And then obviously after extra time, well, first Drogba gets sent off. And honestly, out of that day, Drogba was a brilliant player. But if you go head-to-head with Vida and his mentality is there, that it's going to be a tough one, because Vida, and it was a battle, that was just pure strength battle, headers. Who's going to win the shoulders? It was everything. And Vida, that's the challenge. He loves that. He loves that sort of stuff. And so does Drogba. So obviously when we've gone into extra time, and I came off with about 2 minutes to go, extra time, and Anderson come on. And I'm not going to lie, I was relieved a little bit, because just the thought of maybe taking a penalty and I don't take penalties, it was panic shot. Do you know what I mean? So I was relieved, but still nervous at the same time. And we all know what happened after that. But again, a great team we had there, great squad. Tevez, Ronaldo, Rooney up front, Isaha, but he'd been injured a little bit. Rio, Vida, myself, Gaz, Patrice, Owen Hargreaves, G, Nani. And there's some players that people forget to mention that in certain games in the season, like G in some of the games, you just look at it thinking, what is going on? Who is this guy? He doesn't stop. Do you know what I mean? And I always remember the manager saying about G that, there was a few times that he had to give him bad news that he wasn't getting selected and stuff. And it was probably the hardest thing he's ever done, because what he's done previous to games coming into it.
He was a total workhorse, wasn't he? He was like, I can't remember what season it was, but I remember one season it was like you started realising as a neutral fan how much he did for United, and you're like, bloody hell, if he's playing, like you're not going to get him in its piece in the middle of that midfield because he was just everywhere. But he could push forward and he could get goals and he could assist goals and stuff as well. And it was I remember when he went to QPR, and I was just like, as a Sunderland fan, I remember seeing QPR signing all these players, and when they signed G, I just remember being like, whoa, like. They're really making it if they got him, but just for some reason just didn't work out with QPR. But I think that's a long story, isn't it, with QPR? But as it was, 15 years at Man United in total, I think it was.
He started at 14, left at 31. Yeah,
give or take. And then you come to Sunderland. I imagine we weren't the only club that were interested in you. I have a feeling, I feel like Blackburn were at the time or someone along that line.
I think Stoke definitely were.
Yeah, I think it was Stoke.
I was actually nearly going to go Stoke because because of the not moving home stuff, because it was still close. But obviously Steve Bruce got into me and ended up coming. It was funny because I know they wanted Shazy as well, so I kept phoning Shazy every day saying, are we doing this or what? But obviously it comes down to individual, and I signed the day before. But it was... I had a fantastic time at Sunderland, even though all the stuff we went to, I learned so much because I was so used to winning stuff, or to see the other side of, I'm so happy it happened, but I'm not happy how it all sort of ended for the club in the sense that how they left the Premier League and stuff. But it was a big learning curve, how other teams in the Premiership obviously work and deal with it.
Is it a bit of a culture shock leaving Man United, who are like, I can't think of the word, but it's basically just one of those places where it's like a well-oiled machine. It's from top to bottom. Man United's Man United, whereas Sunderland, as much as it's my club and I love them, we're not Man United, and I don't think there's many clubs that are. Is it a bit of a culture shock when you move to a club like Sunderland and kind of the things change?
No, I wouldn't say a culture shock. I mean, I knew the manager, I knew a lot of the team in there. There was a few ex-United players as well. I think Bardo, Kieran was there. Obviously, Shazy had come as well. So that wasn't a problem at all. I've known some of them from England. The club is actually brilliant. The training ground's brilliant. So that was pretty much the same. So, yeah, I mean, it was just getting started. Obviously, that I knew it was going to be different. We're not necessarily going to be challenging for leagues and stuff. But hopefully we could try and improve the team and get us somewhere, obviously, before I sort of finish my career.
I think when you came, there was actually three United players we wanted. There was you, O'Shea, Gibbo, Darren Gibson, who eventually ended up coming. But I think Gibbo ended up going to Everton. Because he came after.
Yeah, he went to Everton, didn't he? Yeah, he went to Everton, yeah.
He was like the one that I think I expected we would get, and it was like, we'll not get Wes Brown and John O'Shea, that'll not happen. And then it ended up happening the other way around, that you were the first to come, and he turned us down, but...
It made it a lot easier that Shazy come. I always tell people that all the time, because obviously I've known Shazy since we were both kids, so in that sort of sense, settling in was fine. And then when you speak to the lads, Katz, Seb, that we were sort of a little bit older than everyone else. Katz was the captain, and we got on fantastic. And we would try and help out in any way, especially with the young lads coming through. I'd always speak to the young lads and have a little laugh with them. But that's what happened at United. If you ever wanted to talk to the first team, they weren't like a Charlie in a way. They'd sit down and have a chat, just normal people. So we tried to do that side of it, and we got on with all the young lads.
I think you made your debut, if I remember rightly. I was there at Anfield, got a 1-1 draw. Yeah. I think you got one of the matches as well. Yeah,
I did. Yeah, well. I do. Yeah, I remember that game. Sabo with a free kick, wasn't it?
No, it was.
Was it not?
Elmo put the cross in, and then he bicycle kicked it. Sort of.
Sorry, bicycle kick. That was it. Yeah, I remember that one. I mean, it was a good start. A 1-1 at Anfield. It was looking good, and to be fair, we had some good games that year. And then my knees started playing up and my injuries started, and it was an absolute nightmare. Because sometimes what I did when I was a little bit older as well, which probably I shouldn't have done, but I just wanted to and I needed to, is I probably should have stopped every now and again to get everything right, but I'd play on a little bit injured. It would just get worse until one day I'd be like, that's it. And then I'd be out for a month or 2 months or 3 months, and it was a nightmare. So I had me ups and downs in the injury sense, and it was very frustrating.
With the second game after that was Newcastle, where we got beat. The last time Newcastle actually beat us, which
I remember.
Nice to be able to say, but an awful day, if I'm honest. I think that did really affect a lot of the season, because that game means so blooming much that sometimes it can either give you the huge boost
it does, doesn't it?
A huge downer. Did it feel like that when we lost that game, that it was just like, oh shit?
But where you go, people are talking about it. They're talking about this derby, and I understand derbies. Obviously, we got the City one. I always used to look for the Liverpool game first. When I first got into the team, only because City weren't there yet. But this game, you could see with the way it got built up, that she's not one to lose. Do you know what I mean? And if you lost, there could be some consequences. But once you do lose that, you lose a lot of confidence, a little bit, just going forward to the next few games, because you realise how big it is.
With the season as it was, obviously Brucey didn't last much longer after that, and I imagine, and correct me if I'm wrong, he would have been one of the big reasons that you joined. I think before we talk about him going and what your thoughts were on it, if I remember right, again, I think it was basically a mix-up between yourself and Kieran Westwood, I think, in like the last minute.
Yeah, the keeper, yeah, I remember it. That was more my fault, if I'm being honest. I should have just dealt with it. But yeah, I mean, it was sad, because that was one of the reasons we probably went. I'm very close to the family, so we have a laugh about it. I know his son well. Have a laugh about it now. He says, "You got me sacked, you," as a joke. It was one of them. You don't know what to think. You just like, wow. But obviously, they wanted to change. And deep down, listen, football's football. At any point, anything can happen like that. I didn't think it would happen how it did, as in we had so many managers.
Yeah.
I don't, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it is what it is, and you have to just keep on going and move on.